Hello. I'm Matt Zuckerman. Pleasure to meet you.
Hi, Matt. How are you doing?
Very, very well. Nice to meet you, Dr. Joe.
Good to meet you. So Matt, it says here that you went to University of Michigan for medical school.
I did.
Yeah, and that's not seen as one of the top medical schools. It's kind of a lower tier school. How do you think that you're going to compete with these folks that go to really good medical schools?
Well, I think that's a really good question. It's important. I realize that whatever program I end up in, there's going to be a variety of people working with a variety of backgrounds who have lived in different places and gone to different places. And one of the things I really love about Michigan, aside from being just a fantastic school, is that I worked with a broad group of people. And I'm always someone who's striving to learn more and figure out my way into the subject matter and material. I think in med school, I was always motivated by thinking how this would help me clinically, how realizing that something I'm learning might seem boring and abstract, but if I can really understand it, it's going to help me help someone else in the future. And sometimes one of the ways I found it interesting too is working with my classmates in groups. And so if I could teach them something and they taught me something, then that variety of learners that you kind of talked about, sort of we build each other up and we help each other. And I think the best way you understand something is explaining it to someone else who might not have as much exposure as you do. And so I think in this program, I'll bring that same approach. I don't expect us to all know the same thing on day one. I think that's one of the great things about internship and residency. But I'm really hoping that by working together, we can really, drink from a fire hose, so to speak, and really learn all of that material so that I can sit across the table from a patient or a bedside and really use that information to help them out.
So it sounds like from what you're saying that you really don't like competition and you don't like working on your own. Is that the reason that you ended up at a school like Michigan? Is that, you didn't do well undergrad, or is it just that you just have trouble competing, with others and showing that you actually have value?
Oh, I wish you spoke to my family, if only. Yeah, no, competition is something that does come up over games of Monopoly and trivia. I don't think that I'm horribly averse to competition. Realistically, I don't know that anyone gets into University of Michigan or any med school or residency for that matter without being able to compete on some level. And so I think that I look on competition as a challenge. And you're absolutely right. I'm realistic. Am I going to be first place in every race I run? No. But I think that if that prevented me from running it, then why'd I even do it to begin with? And so there's always some competition. I want to do my best. And I find that, for example, when I do run, I'm not necessarily running against the person next to me. I'm always trying to beat my best time. I'm always trying to make this my best day. And you're right. I'm not as cutthroat as some people. It's not a win at all costs. But at the same time, if you want to play a good game of Monopoly or you want to compete against a good game of trivia, the competition does come out. And certainly amongst my peers, I try to do my best. I don't know if that answers your question. Does that answer your question?
How did you feel about this? About those questions?
I thought they were very funny. They were very funny. I tried to write it down because actually that's something I do too. If someone says something that is so ridiculous that I feel like I'll like, first of all, I think never take anything personally, which you just can't. Second of all, try not to react in a horribly emotional way. And third of all, be enthusiastic. And so I think when you would say something really horrible and negative, I would try to agree, but sort of reframe it in a way that I could answer in a positive manner, in a positive way.
I think you did really well with that. I mean, I got to be honest, those are really hard questions because essentially that guy is just not a nice person.
No.
And he's obviously extremely arrogant, et cetera. One other way that some people have dealt with it is trying to reframe the question back on the interviewer. As we all know from bad first dates, people love to talk about themselves. And so if you give them the opportunity to talk about themselves, then usually they're going to go on and on and on. And so some people have reframed that question as, boy, I don't know what the opportunities are like at a school that like you're talking about. Where did you go to school? And then, of course, the person's going to talk about wherever it is that they went that they feel like is a superior area or a superior school. And then if you can reflect on what opportunities that they have, and obviously they must assume that they're working at a superior institution, and how you would thrive under that sort of circumstance would be another way to approach it.
No, that definitely makes sense. Fine tone, though, right? So it's always, that's a great question. How about your school? Not, well, what school did you go to? That's the same question, but maybe a different tone.
Exactly.